Chapter 3, Lesson 1, Parallel Lines and Transversals. You can see our standard 8G5 is not prioritized. That does not mean we don't have to learn it. Prioritized standards are ones vital, very, very important to catch and master as we continue on within math. This is still a standard that we need to teach and learn as an 8th grade with Course 3 Math, so we will be going over 8G5. We have a lot of vocab today, a lot of things. So as you're going through the assignment, wherever it is on IXL, worksheet, whatever it might be, I always say leave your notes out in front of you. Today, if you were in class, you'd hear me say it on every slide, and I might say it quickly on every slide here in the video notes. Leave your notes out. There are tons of vocab, tons of different types of angles, and they each are slightly different, but they come out to be congruent, but you have to know which one is which. Before we talk about that, we're talking about parallel lines. Parallel lines are the ones that are parallel. They will never intersect. They will be shown down here with a little arrow on them, meaning parallel. So as you're looking down here, line A and line B are parallel, something that sometimes they will just write off to the side as A is parallel to B. 2 slashes means parallel. Those lines right there, 1, 2, those are parallel to each other. They will never, ever, ever touch. Then we have this word transversal. It's just a line that crosses the parallel lines. Notice here used as T, it's this line going here. But a transversal is any line that cuts through 2 parallel lines. So it could be like this, could be this one, could be that one, could be like this, could be like that. As long as it's going through both of the parallel lines, it's a transversal. So you're going to see 2 parallel lines and then some other line going through them today. When we have that, we have this phrase corresponding angles. Big thing here with corresponding angles, they're on the same side. They correspond to one another. Big definition, angles which lie on the same side of the transversal in corresponding positions. Big phrase, but let's take a look at it down here. Again, notice we have 2 parallel lines. You can see them right here. They're not named, but that's okay. You can see they're parallel because they've got those little arrows there. Now, when we talk about corresponding, let me take a look at this. I'll show it to you one at a time. When you're looking at that top line, you'll kind of notice that there are like 4 angles. We got this one here, this guy here, this one, and then we've got this guy here. Notice that the angle we're looking at right here is in this bottom right, if you will, where the green crayon marker is. So when we talk about corresponding, we want the same angle as that one, but down here where this transversal crosses this parallel line. So again, going in the same order, you can see we got an angle here, an angle there, an angle here, and then we've got that angle over here again. Since we are looking here in the bottom right, we want the same angle down here, bottom right. They correspond. They're in the same spot on both the one on the top and the one down here on the bottom. The 2 spots where that transversal crosses the parallel line, it's in the same spot. Those are corresponding angles, which means they are congruent. That's the big thing. So if I told you that this angle up here was 68 degrees, down here, this other angle, the corresponding angle, would also be 68 degrees. Interior angles, just like the name says, they lie on the inside, or they say between the parallel lines. So you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 interior angles. They are on the inside of the parallel lines. Now, what we're going to look more importantly at is this big word here, this alternate. And we talk about that in class, but what we talk about an alternate, it means the same thing here. So graphic or visual notes, I'm going to put down here that it's opposite. So alternate interior angles are opposite inside angles. Meaning when you go back up here to the top, if I pick this top left one, I want the opposite interior, the alternate interior one. So you're going to come down here, and then since this one on the top was on the left side, we want the one that's on the right side. So these two are alternate interior angles. Important because they are congruent. So if I told you this one here was 70 degrees, that means this one over here would also be 70 degrees. Furthermore, when you look at it over here, well, what about this guy on the right? Go on the opposite inside. So down here, instead of being on the right, we're going to be on the left. These two are also alternate interior angles, and they are congruent. So if I told you this bottom one was 110 degrees, you can tell that this one is 110 degrees. Well, how so, Mr. Walls? You don't have to measure it by definition right here because they are alternate interior angles. You'll see that I'll put up a bunch of examples on the backboard as well in my classroom usually where you can see these words and keep looking back to them and I color coordinate them. Today, again, you just need to leave your notes out because we're talking about even more vocab here as we talk about exterior angles. When you hear the word exterior, it means just like it says, exterior is outside. So when we look at our two parallel lines, we're looking for angles that are on the outside of those parallel lines through that transversal. So we've got 4 exterior angles, but today we're going to really focus on what's important is this word again, alternate, which means the same thing as opposite. Alternate exterior angles lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So in class I'd have you pick top or bottom, but I'm just going to pick bottom on this one. I'm going to pick the bottom left down here. So if I pick the bottom left, what angle is the opposite, or rather the alternate exterior angle? So since I started here on the bottom, go up to the top. Since I was on the left, I want to be on the right. Notice, do those both kind of look to be the same? Kind of look like they're obtuse? Maybe like if I told you this top one was 120 degrees, they both kind of look like 120 degrees. That being said, what you'll find out is those are not just alternate exterior angles. Woohoo! They are alternate exterior angles. They are congruent. Furthermore, then you could have picked up here. You could have picked the left one up here. Since it's the left one on the outside, alternate exterior means instead of the left side, we want the right side down here. And if I told you that this was 60 degrees, that would make this guy up here 60 degrees as well because they are congruent. More vocab, yes. Vertical angles. Opposite angles formed by the intersection of 2 lines. You could call it opposite angles in an X. There needs to be an X made. Notice when we make an X here, with these 2 lines, alternate is not the word we're looking for, but opposite. Vertical angles. So if I got over here the small one, the one on the other side of the X, the other side of the intersection, those are vertical angles. It's important. Vertical angles are also congruent. So if I told you that this one was 45 degrees, this one would be 45 degrees as well. But again, doesn't stop there. When you're looking at them, you could have picked this angle. And now we're looking at what is the opposite. So you want to go directly across that X, and that takes you to this spot. That is a vertical angle. Whatever I want to, if you were told this one's 135 degrees, that makes this one 135 degrees because they are vertical angles and they will be congruent. Now, one thing you can look at with that, when we talk about this word, vertical angles, it's abbreviated with a V and an A. Notice again, when we talk about vertical angles happen when we make that X. And they are congruent. See how there's kind of an X here, if you will, when we're talking about vertical angles. Maybe if it's visual, that will help you as well. But that's something, when we're looking at vertical angles, they are congruent. Now, we apply every one of these vocab. Find them, use the figure to find the measure of angle 1 and the angle 2. Sometimes they may not use this word measure. They may not put it up here. They may just put a little m right there, and that's what that stands for. This just stands for the measure of angle 1. Now, that being said, let's look at our graph. Everyone, go ahead and circle up this 99 degrees here. You can use whatever color pen you want to use, or pencil. Just use your pencil and circle it up. Now, we need to use 1 and 2 to figure it out. Notice, as we look at these, if I were to focus just over here on the left side, we're going to talk about that word corresponding again. When you look just here, notice we have that X made. So if you will, like bottom left in a sense, bottom left is where this 99-degree angle is at, in that in that one spot. So over here in this X, we want the same one, bottom left. Those ones would be corresponding. They're in the same spot on either side. So that means measure of angle 1 equals 99 degrees. Why? Because they're corresponding. So if you need to put that in there, you can put corresponding angles. If it asks us to justify here, it doesn't. Now, angle 2, what we're going to find out is what we've talked about maybe a little bit before and need to re-look at again. When you look at angle 1 and angle 2, they lie on one line. When you put them together, they make this lovely, lovely line. That line is 180 degrees. It's a supplementary angle. It's a straight angle. That means that when you're looking at those, they are going to add up to 180 degrees. So if I got 180 degrees, and I know that my first angle was 99 degrees, oh, Mr. Walls, I can just do this in my head. Yeah, I know you can. But we're still going to write out the work for when it shows up that we can't quite do it that way. So plus, I don't know, something for angle 2, I'm going to put down Z is what I'm feeling. Solve the equation. Solve for Z by adding a negative 99, or of course subtracting 99. That works as well, but I'm going to add a negative 99 for mental math purposes. That gives me Z equals, careful with the mental math. Sometimes I like to put down 91 here or 81, and I just make mistakes there. Must be very, very careful on that. So measure of angle 2, 81 degrees. If you're off, oh, I thought it was 91, Mr. Walls. Tear in the eye, red pen comes out, take off 1 point. IXL, not going to be as graceful. They're just going to mark it all wrong and get a bunch of points taken away. So be very careful whether you're using mental math or a calculator that you get that right. But that's just a couple of angles. What you're going to see a lot of is this. Whoa, no, don't panic. Don't panic. Your answers are either 68 degrees or one other number. We just have to figure out which one is which. So find the measures of the missing angles. Now, it says up here of the numbered angles, but I'm also going to have us justify. I want us to explain why, explain our reasoning. Again, we're going to start here with this 68 degrees, and we're going to match up everything with it. For me, it doesn't matter where you start. I'm going to start here, right in this spot with number 1. Because when we look at this, it makes an X, which tells me I can go directly across this X to this other angle, and that's going to be a vertical angle. Cleaning that all up, that means going directly across the measure of angle 1 is going to be 68 degrees. Why? They're vertical angles. You can put the word angle in if you want to. You have room. I do not have that much room. Now what you're going to find is I'm going to stick with this 68 degrees. Notice the 68 degrees is here on the inside between the parallel lines. So I know one of my other vocab was alternate interior. So since this 68 degrees is up here on the top, on the inside, I'm going to go to the other side of it, and I want to go to the opposite, meaning instead of being here on the top, I'm going to go down to the bottom. So the measure of angle 4 is also 68 degrees. Justify, explain why. They are alternate, interior, angles. And now number 6 and 4, you could say, well, since 4 is 68, 4 and 6 are vertical, but I want to keep using some of these other words. So again, when we're looking at these, we have this 68 degrees located right up here on the top, if you will, the upper right on this line. So let's go to this other line here and find the angle that's also in the upper right. That would be angle 6. So the measure of angle 6 is also 68 degrees. Why? It's in the same spot as the angle we were given. That's the corresponding angles. And I will accept that for shorthand. You are welcome to spell it out. I know that'll make our English teachers very happy. But that's all we've got for that 68. Now we need to do the other ones. So when we're looking at that, we're going to go back and you just pick one. Whatever one you want, 2 or 3, either of them will be just fine. When you look at angle 2 or angle 3 in regards to 68, I'll show you why. Going back to the 68 degrees, I want to pick angle 2 because when I look at those two and I see them side by side, if I put them together, that's where they make this straight line or a straight angle. They are supplementary, which we were told and reminded that means that they're going to add up to 180 degrees because of that straight angle or being supplementary. And now I know that one of them, angle, was given to me. It was 68 degrees, and then I'm just trying to find out what that other angle is. I'll use M for measure or something I don't know. And from there, again, I'm just going to go and solve by subtracting 68 or adding a negative 68. Be careful with the mental math. Calculator approved. That gives you 112 equals M. So from there, you can see then that when we're looking at angle 2 and the 68, because they are supplementary, that's what we're going to say. The measure of angle 2 is 112 degrees. Don't forget that degree symbol. Each of those are labels in Mr. Walls' classroom. That is because they is supplementary to the given angle or supplementary to the 68 degrees. I'll accept either of those to the given angle or supplementary to 68 degrees. From there, there's not just one way to fill all these in. Again, when I look at this, I kind of see an X here. So when I know angle 2, I can go across that X. That is my vertical angle. So looking at it across from 2 and that X, directly opposite, making opposite V's, is angle 3. So the measure of angle 3 is also 112 degrees. And you need to justify that. That's because it's vertical to angle 2. Because it's not the given one, I have to tell which one it is. All these ones up here on the top, I was able just to say one thing, vertical, because I used all with the given angle, the 68 degrees. Sticking with that angle 2, noticing up here then that it is on the outside. When we look at our two parallel lines, angle 2 is on the outside. So if it's on the outside on the top, over here, I'm going to go on the outside on the alternate or opposite side. So that means the measure of angle 7 is also 112 degrees. Why? Because when you look at angle 2 and angle 7, they are alternate exterior angles. So I'm going to say this one, because it's a different one, I have to explain alternate exterior to angle 2. And that leaves me with just one more to get. When you look at angle 5, again, when you're looking at these spots, notice when you're looking at this, you can see that you have angle 2 here in the upper left of its set of angles. And then the upper left in the same spot, in the corresponding spot, is the measure of angle 5. That's 112 degrees as well. Again, justify or explain your answer. That's because it is corresponding to angle 2. When you're looking at that, that's what we do. We've got to get all of them in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They are set. It's a lot of vocab, so I've stressed it once before. I'll stress it again and say it again. I'll say it many times in class. Keep your notes out. Use them during your homework. You should be writing these examples in, everything you see here, just like you would be doing if you were in class and in person. You're expected to write these into your notes, not because I'm making you to or just trying to give you extra little side work. It's because it is going to help you. You can look at this during your homework, whatever it might be, worksheet, IXL. If it's a day 2, you can look back at them again for studying before a quiz or an assessment. You can look at them, use them during your notes. So make sure now you're writing them in, and when you're doing your homework, you use the notes. Let's do this again because that's what we're looking at. We're going to do a lot of, they're going to give you just 2 parallel lines, and then that transversal, again, that transversal being the line that's just going through it somehow. And then they're going to give you an angle up here. They gave us the measure of angle 1 is 135 degrees. Find the measure for each. Now notice right here it says give a reason for each, or to justify. Back here, when you're looking at this one did not say that. So when you're looking at it on your assignment, if it doesn't say to justify or explain your reasoning, then this is all you need. You just need each angle with its degree marks. So follow instructions. Yes, we did do a little extra work here. You might be like, oh, why, Mr. Walls? Because we did a little extra practice. There's so much vocab in here, and there's not just one way to get all of these answers, that we need the practice on justifying or explaining or giving a reason for each. So on your homework, when you see it says give a reason for each, you must. Please, since we're starting with it and here in your notes, please write on in that angle 1 is 135 degrees. From there, you can go any which way you want. You can start and do anything, any way that you would like. I myself see an X. So that means I'm going to have vertical angles when I'm looking at that, going across the X, directly opposite with opposite V's or opposite angles. That would be across from angle 1 is angle 3. So the measure of angle 3 is 135 degrees, and because I'm using the original angle, I can justify it by saying they are vertical angles. If you wanted to, you could say vertical to the given angle, vertical to 135 degrees, and that does work. When we're looking at this 135 degrees up here, if you're looking at these lines that are parallel, the 135 degrees is in the upper right, if you will. So going down here to this second parallel line, finding the angle in the same spot, the upper right spot, that's going to give you the ones that are in the same spot. But the same spot is not our word. It is not how we're going to justify that. What we call the same spot is corresponding. There are corresponding angles. Again, you could say corresponding to the given angle, corresponding to 135 degrees. But for me, since it's the given angle, the one that we started with, that's all you need for your justification. Going back up to angle 1, noticing when you're looking at angle 1, in regards to the parallel lines, it's on the outside. So since angle 1 is here on the outside, we're going to go over here to the other outside. Since angle 1 was on the right side, I'm going to focus in on the left side because they're on the opposite sides on the outside. Opposite sides on the outside are congruent. And our word, our vocab for that was they are alternate, that's the opposite, outside exterior angles. If you have room, please write the word angle in there. Again, if you want to do a full justification, it is the alternate exterior angle to the given angle, to angle 1, to the 135 degrees. Now, that's all I can do with that, so now I need to go back up there, and you can pick either one of these angles when you're looking at it. So you can pick angle 2 or angle 4, because when I'm looking at angle 1 and angle 4, when I compare those guys, what I'm going to notice is that they are side by side. When I put them together, they make a straight line, or that straight angle, which I was told supplementary is 180 degrees. So I got 180 degrees. One of my angles is that 135 degrees, plus that other one of M, which I don't know. And I'll just solve that. Yes, I know, Mr. Walls. You just subtract them. But sometimes you're going to have a multi-step problem. So I still want you to write it out like this so that you've got that muscle memory. You've got that habit built in of going, oh yeah, here's how we do the steps. I remember how to do this. Just sometimes even if you're like, I don't remember how, by just starting at 180 degrees equals, your mind just follows through on all the extra steps. Because mental math or calculator approved, be very careful that when you get that, you get the right answer, 45 degrees. That then tells me that the measure of angle 4 is 45 degrees, and explain that one is supplementary, that is a U there, to angle number 1. From there, you can do many different things. There's not just one way to get to some of these. There's not just one answer. So if you like vertical angles, Mr. Walls, I get that. I get the corresponding. Then use those as much as you can. Mr. Walls, alternate exterior, alternate interior, those I get because it's outside, it's inside, it's on the opposite. The other ones, I just get so confused. Then try to use as much as the alternate or whatever it is that you get. Use those, because this is not the only way to get this. The measure angle 5 is not only by corresponding. You can figure it out other ways. Measure angle 7 does not just have to be alternate exterior. There is more than one way to get there. Looking at the angle 4, again, I see that's X, so that's how I'm going to look at angle 2 then. So since they're up here in that X, angle 4, directly across that X on the opposite side. Again, I'd be putting my fingers up and showing you opposite V's, opposite angles. Those are vertical. So angle 2 is 45 degrees. Why? Because it's vertical to angle 1. Follow your teacher's instruction. If you're supposed to write out the word vertical, please do. If they allow you shorthand like I do, you're allowed to do that. From there, again, however you want to do this. I'm going to look here, and since I've started with angle 4, notice how angle 4 is on the inside, on this top line. So I'm going to go on this bottom line down here, and since I was on the right, I'm going to go on the opposite side in there. So the measure of angle 6 is also 45 degrees. It looks acute, looks like the small one, yes, but why? Because it's on the opposite side. It's the alternate interior to angle 4. Up above there, sorry, that should have said vertical angle to not 4, but should have said to angle 4 here, not to angle 1. I apologize for that. Thank you for those who caught that. I caught a mistake earlier and didn't get that in the video, and here's one that did make it, but that's all right. Leaves us with one last one. So again, however you want to get there, there's more than one way. Again, when looking up here at the very top, we can see that when we're looking at these parallel lines, angle 4 is down here in what we can call the bottom right, if you will. So going in this next one, we're going to look for the one that's also in the bottom right. Measure of angle 8 is 45 degrees. Why? Because when I compare it to angle 4, it is corresponding to angle 4. 1 was given to us. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 have been given. Notice again in this one, when we're talking about our final answer on an assignment or on an assessment, because it said give a reason for each, you need not just the angle measurements, but also this justification over here. Please be very careful. Watch those degree signs. They're going to be a label, so they're going to be worth points in my class. Again, rewatch the video, rewatch a lesson, slow the video down. When we're done, today our goal is that you just can identify and find the measure of angles. We're going to use a bunch of vocab. We're going to talk about corresponding. We're going to talk about interior. We're going to do exterior angles. We're also going to do vertical angles. All that vocab is going to come back, and we're just going to try to find the measure of angles, and we're going to do some identifying or justifying. Please use your notes. If you were not writing them down, go back and rewatch the video. Just like in class, you're supposed to be writing down the notes so you can see the examples. Do the same here. And as you're doing the homework, whatever it is, leave your notes out. We'll have questions on this, I'm sure, but go through the notes. Again, there's more than one way to get to it. And when you come to class, you're hopefully going to see in the back wall, my whiteboard back there. I'm going to have all the vocab up there. I'm going to have them color coordinated with examples up there so you can keep looking back, because we went through a lot of vocab. So if you have to look on each problem multiple times at your notes, that's okay. That's what they're there for. Because today we want you to be able to identify the measures using corresponding interior and exterior angles by parallel lines with a cut by a transversal, with a line going through them.